The military is notorious for looking at three people and saying, this is 100% your fault. You are totally responsible and you are 100% to blame. Is it just me, or is that math a little bit off? What's even funnier is usually that person that's saying that was actually part of that team. But anyway, we haven't met already. My name is Dr. Harry McCleary. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and Navy veteran. And I make mental health videos for veterans. In this video, I'm going to talk about the shame and guilt associated with trauma and why people, but especially veterans, tend to blame themselves for their trauma. So shame and guilt, two of the arguably worst emotions to feel. And they're a little bit different than the other emotions. You know, you have your joy, your sadness, your anger. You know, they tend to kind of come and go on their own. They ebb and flow. How guilt and shame are a little bit different is they actually require a thought. Joy, sadness, those type of emotions don't always come with a thought. Sometimes it just occur naturally. They just come to us. Guilt and shame are different because we have to tell ourselves something about a situation. We have to appraise a situation a certain way. In order to feel guilty about something, we have to feel like, well, we're partially to blame. Maybe we're totally to blame. In order to feel shame, we have to feel like we did something wrong. Our criminal justice system, while not perfect, is set up to look at a couple of things. One is the role that you played in whatever crime there is. Two is how much you intended whatever happened to happen. Well, did you plan it out? So let me take you through a kind of morbid scenario. Okay, so you're driving down the street, going to work, and residential neighborhood, you're going to speed limit, no big deal. And a kid darts from behind the bushes. Terrible scenario. Why are you saying that, Dr. McCleary? All right. Do we throw that person in jail forever? Well, let's take a look. What role did you play? And did you intend on that happening? Well, you didn't intend on it happening. And you didn't really even see it coming. Typically, we don't throw that person in jail forever. That was an accident. It happened. And you're probably pretty sad about it. Okay, let's change the scenario a little bit. You're speeding. You're drinking, perhaps. What happens then? Does that change it? Well, the law would say it does. You played a role in that kid being harmed. Okay, well, if you played a role, then maybe you're partially to blame. The law looks at that. But you still didn't intend on hitting a kid that day. You're probably going to feel a lot of regret. Well, if I just hadn't have been speeding, if I hadn't have had those extra couple of beers, maybe that kid still be with us. Okay. Let's change it again. You're out one day, Grand Theft Auto style, and you're looking for kids to hit. In a residential neighborhood, boom, you hit 100 points. Okay. Dr. McCleary, that's terrible. It is terrible. And there you played a leading role. And you intended on hitting a kid. You intended on something bad to happen. Usually you throw the book at that guy. So looking over your trauma, something to ask yourself is, well, what role did I play? And did I intend on something bad happening? Because odds are that 100% of the blame that you're giving yourself, that 100% of the responsibility that you're giving yourself may not be quite accurate. Maybe there were multiple people that played a role. Something to think about. If you're getting value out of this content, go ahead and smash that like button. A question that I ask a lot of my patients is, who's to blame for the trauma? Whose fault is it? And most times, early on in treatment, people say, well, it's my fault. I'm to blame. I'll say, how much to blame? Well, 100%. 100%? Really? Okay. So let's back up. Who was involved? Oh, well, it was me, my mom, another guy, 2 other people. We were at school, so my teachers were there. Oh, I said, whoa. There seems to be a lot of people involved here. Seems to be a lot of people that maybe should share in some of that responsibility, share in some of that blame. So you only got 100%. Think about this as a pie chart. And think about all the people that were involved. Well, how much responsibility do they get? Here's a scenario. And a difficult one, but one that we should talk about. A sexual trauma typically involves at least 2 people. Okay. But it's often the victim, often the person that it happened to, that says, well, I'm 100% to blame. Okay. 100% though? What about the other person? Well, they're not to blame at all. Well, why not? We are so hesitant to give other people their fair share that we end up taking it for them. So why do we do that, Dr. McCleary? Well, a lot of different reasons. One of those reasons is it's easier. It's easier to blame ourselves than it is to point the finger at somebody else. And pointing the finger at somebody else does not mean that you are relinquishing all of your responsibility. As I said earlier, you may have played a role. You may have set a scene for something. But if there are multiple people involved, then that responsibility probably is not all yours. Another scenario, and one that comes up so often, unfortunately, in the military. Somebody gets a DUI. Okay. All right. Happened. Maybe it happened to you. So somebody gets a DUI and their superior, their NCO, they say, you know what? That was 100% my fault. That was on me because they are my responsibility. Okay. Something that's taught in the military. Take care of your guys. Okay. You're responsible for your guys. Okay. So what I say to that is, so somebody gets a DUI. Do they give the NCO 45-45 for that? If you are a civilian watching this, 45-45 is 45 days restriction, 45 days extra duty. The answer is no. And you say, well, why not? Because maybe, just maybe, there was somebody else involved there. Maybe the person driving the car and that was drinking. Maybe they should share in some of that responsibility. So what I want to encourage you to do is think about your trauma. Think about all the people that may have also played a role. And if your trauma is military related, oh, you got a lot of people. Because last time I checked, you don't write your own orders anywhere. Last time I checked, many times you're not telling yourself to go out on those missions. You're not telling yourself to go out on deployment. Okay. Making a list of all the people that played a role and giving them their fair share. Their fair share of the responsibility. It may be, yet maybe, you may realize that you are not 100% to blame. You are not 100% responsible. And it's not 100% your fault. Something to think about. Hey, if this video was helpful for you, which I hope that it was, please like it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more about PTSD and mental health. But more important than that, if this video was helpful for you, then it can probably be helpful for another veteran. Because we all know somebody else that can benefit from a little mental health work. So I ask that you share it with them. Because at the end of the day, that's really what all this is about. One veteran trying to help another.